Hi there, everyone. This is Joanne Jones, and this is Buying Miami, Life, Love, and Real Estate. So today, I usually have guests, but today I'm flying solo because I really want to dig into buying Miami and the process of buying a home. So you should know by now, I wrote a book called Buying Miami, the must-have guide to purchasing a home, and it was birthed out of me explaining to potential buyers the process of buying a home. Now, sometimes I ran into people who already have experience purchasing a property. It's not like their first time at the rodeo, but they are buying in Miami for the first time. So the nuances from city to city, county to county, state to state differ. So if you come from buying property in New York and you come down to Miami, you're going to be blindsided with stuff that's not how you're used to it being done. So I wanted to take some time to really dig into what you would need to know if you're thinking about buying a property in Miami. And I say Miami because, a lot of things are evergreen. A lot of things are going to be the same regardless of the city or the county or the state. But then there's little things that are different. Like one little thing in Miami is that for the most part, the buyer is going to choose the closing agent and pay for those expenses. Now, obviously, there's seller expenses on the closing, but it's a norm around here that the buyer is going to pick the closing agent and the buyer's attorney is going to hold escrow, or the buyer's title company is going to hold escrow. So that's something that is different in other parts of the country where the seller's escrow or attorney is going to hold the deposits and facilitate the closing. So we're just going to start at the beginning. Like maybe right now you're thinking about moving to Miami, or you already live here and you're renting and you're like, where do I even begin? Well, if you're going to pay cash, that's fine. Great, pay cash. But most people need to get a mortgage. So let's say your lease is up in August and it's January. And you know that by the end of the year, you want to be in your new property. Let's say it's a condo. You want to buy a condo. Well, I would say the first thing you need to do is talk to a mortgage broker, and maybe talk to 2 or 3 mortgage brokers. Maybe talk to your bank and talk to 1 or 2 other mortgage brokers to see if what they're telling you is the same. A lot of the information that they're going to give you is the same, but the first thing you need to do is figure out what you can afford. Like how much is a $600,000 condo going to cost you every month? And you're going to have your principal, your interest, your taxes, your maintenance, and your insurance. So that's going to be called your nut. And so how much can you afford? How much do you want to put down? Are you going to put 10%, 20%, 15%? A lot of condos in South Florida require you to put at least 15%. When I bought my condo, I had to put 25%, but I only had 15%, so I had to get a second mortgage for $30,000. So these are all things that you need to kind of, if you want to ease into it and not be blindsided and overwhelmed, start talking to a mortgage broker and figure out where you're going to get your deposit from if you already have it. Maybe you have, X amount of dollars in the bank already, and you know that you want to use that for your deposit. But not only are you going to have your deposit, there are other expenses when you're getting a home. So you're going to have your deposit, and then you're going to have closing cost. Now, what's in closing cost? Well, closing cost is it's going to cost you to borrow money from the bank. So usually a good rule of thumb is that your closing costs are going to be an additional 2% of the asking price. So if you're looking at a $600,000 property, your closing costs are going to be between $10,000 and $12,000. Now that's going to be for the mortgage, obtaining the mortgage. It's going to be for things that you're going to have to escrow in advance. So what does that mean? What does it mean to escrow in advance? Well, what that means is that the lender is going to want you to put a year's worth of insurance or pay for a year's insurance policy up front. The lender may also require that you put money in savings or in the escrow account for the taxes that are going to be due the following year. So there's some amounts that you're going to have to pay in advance at closing. Insurance and taxes are usually the ones. Now, so you're going to have your down payment, and then you have your closing cost. Now, also what's in closing cost is the fees that you're going to pay the lawyer or the title company to close your loan. So the ownership of the property is going to transfer from the current seller to you, the new buyer, the new owner. And there are fees and taxes and paperwork that goes along with that. And there's a fee for that. So you're going to have your closing costs. So let's say you're going to put $60,000 down. You better plan to have another, $12,000. So now you're up to $72,000. And then you're going to have the expense of moving. So that's going to be X amount of dollars. And you're going to get into your new house and you're going to realize, oh, snippity snap, I got to buy window treatments for every window here. And oh, I want to get blackout shades. And oh, I need a new carpet and I need new stuff, because when you move, so you have the cost of moving, paying the movers and all of that. And then you have all the stuff that you're going to buy at Home Goods or wherever, Target or whatever. I know when I moved, God, keep me away from Home Goods. I went in there with the intention of, just buying one thing for $30, and 2 hours later and $500 later, there was all this stuff. So it's good that you budget for that. So, okay. You need to talk to your mortgage broker. You need to figure out what you can afford, what you want your nut to be. Your nut is principal, interest, taxes, maintenance, and insurance. You need to figure out how much of a down payment that you're going to need for a property. You're going to have to figure out somewhat how much your closing costs are going to be. And then you need another little amount of money for moving and buying new furniture, buying new stuff. You want this to go as smoothly as possible. So if you want to buy a property in August and you start in January, or, you need to start thinking about how much money are you going to need to put down your down payment, have your closing cost, and move and buy new stuff. So once you figure that out, then when you start to get serious about looking for a property, you're going to not only get a pre-approval, you need a pre-approval to even be taken seriously, but really what you want is a DU, which is called a desktop underwriter. And that is an actual loan approval. And that's when your mortgage broker, and this is when you know that you want to put an offer on something, like you're going shopping. And if you see something you like, you want to be able to put an offer that day. So if you are at that point where you're ready to make an offer on something, you're playing for reals, then you need to have your DU. Now, the desktop underwriter is your loan approval. So it means that they've already approved you. They've looked at all of your financial information, your tax returns, your bank statements, they've verified your employment. They look at the money that you have in the bank. They've done all their due diligence on you as a borrower. And now all you need to do is bring them a fully executed contract for them to start the loan process. And that is something that is going to set you apart from other buyers who are not educated. And it'll also, if you're competing against cash buyers as well, that will kind of already show that you are well qualified. And I'll give you a personal story. I bought a condo a few years ago, and I put an offer in on the property, and the seller required a DU. And it took me like another 2 weeks to get the DU. And that's when I found out that although my mortgage broker told me that I can get in with 15% down, when they did the background check on the property that I wanted to buy, the building that I wanted to buy, they realized, oh no, that building, it doesn't qualify for a 15% deposit. That building, we're going to have to put you in a different loan program, and that building, you're going to have to put 25%. I didn't have 25%. So then I had to get a second mortgage for the difference, that 10% difference. So if I didn't get the DU, then I wouldn't have known that. And that seller, she was kind of smart to make me do that. And I kind of always knew that, but I got a firsthand experience. So get your DU. Now, you also might wonder, why do you need a realtor? What's a realtor going to do for you? Well, First of all, the realtor is going to have the knowledge of the local market that you want to be in. So, like, for example, I'm born and raised here in Miami. I've lived here my whole life. I know Miami very well. And I know all the different areas. And I know, little things like street knowledge. I know that building, their management sucks, or this building didn't pass their 40-year certification. I just know it because I'm on the front line of real estate. So you want to get with a realtor, especially if you're moving from another city or another state. You want to get a realtor that has local knowledge about where you're going to be living. The other thing is that a realtor is going to have access to off-market properties. A lot of properties get sold, they don't even hit the market. So only a realtor is going to be able to get you access to off-market. Now, I'm a Compass agent, and within Compass, we have a platform that we use, and a lot of times we sell properties from realtor to realtor. So even like right now, I have a property that is not on the open market because it's not quite ready to go on the MLS. I have it in coming soon, but I've already shown it twice. So I could very easily sell this property to another Compass agent because they saw it in coming soon. And, it's a hot building. So I could very well get an offer before it even hits the MLS. So an agent is going to give you access to off market. Also, if you're moving from a different area, no matter where you're moving from, a realtor, if they've been around for a while, like I've been doing real estate going on 2 decades now. I'm in my 19th year. Jesus, time flies. But I have a lot of resources that I can lend you. Like, you need a general contractor? I got a guy. You need a housekeeper? I got a few. You need help with, you need to get home insurance? I got a couple people that could help you. So I have a professional network of people. And sure, you can go online and find these people, but wouldn't you rather get a referral from someone else that you have some point of reference from? That's what a realtor can give you. Also, a good realtor is going to have good negotiation skills. I know me personally, I love negotiating. I study negotiating. I read books on negotiating. And I like to be up on the latest tips and tricks on how to get contracts pushed through. And some of my negotiating skills have been the difference in whether my buyers have been able to close the deal or not. So you're going to get negotiating skills, God willing, if you pick the right one. An agent can help you save time. If you have 6 properties to look at on a Saturday, your agent is the one that's going to set all of that up for you. And basically, you just got to show up with some water and maybe some snacks. And that agent should be able to go from property to property and get you into everything. A lot of times you go online and you're not dealing with the listing agent. So you think you're talking to the listing agent, but a lot of these online consumer searching platforms they're lead generation for us agents. So those companies sell the lead. So when you inquire about a property, a lot of times you're not going to the listing agent, you're going to the agent who bought that area and wants to get the leads for buyers who are looking in that area. So, you're not always dealing with who you think you're dealing with these consumer properties. And also an agent, God willing, you build a relationship, you're going to spend some time with them, and they could be what's called a post-sale support. So you're moving to a new area. That agent knows that area pretty well. They have continued resources that could help you. And one of the most important things, though, on why you need a realtor in the state of Florida is a realtor can write your sales and purchase contract. Now, many people, I don't think, understand this or know this, but the way that the real estate is structured in the state of Florida, there's 2 important things to realize. Number one, that realtors are able to write contracts and negotiate contracts in the state of Florida, as opposed to other areas where the agents are not allowed to write contracts and they don't negotiate them. We're able to do that because we all use the same contracts. So we all use the same contracts for the most part. And this allows your agent to write the contract for you. And God willing, they can explain the contract for you. And that's one thing. If you want to put an offer on a property in the state of Florida, it would make sense to use an agent who knows that contract very well and knows all the nuances, like how are you going to get out of the contract if you need to? How long do you need for an inspection? When can you cancel the contract and get your escrow money back? These are all things that you're going to need an agent for. Now, you could use the listing agent, and there's a lot of buyers that are like, oh, I don't want to use an agent because they've had bad experiences with agents, which I get that. But using the listing agent to negotiate the sale of a property is kind of like getting a divorce and using the same divorce attorney as your spouse. It's not a great idea. Like, you want somebody who is going to be in your court, in your corner, and that is going to negotiate for you and is not necessarily emotionally tied to the property like the listing agent is. And so that's a really important thing. And also the last thing is that you don't pay for the buyer's agent. It's part of the seller's cost of doing business. So the listing agent is going to split the commission with the seller's agent. So at the end of the day, you get this professional who's going to help you, walk you through this whole process. And their commission for helping you walk through this process is not something that you have to pay. So why wouldn't you use a realtor? I think the trick is to finding the right realtor for you. And a couple things. I mean, you need to find a realtor who is going to take the time to ask you the right questions to lead you in the right direction. So a lot of times I have buyers, they'll text me 9:00 in the evening. Do you do real estate? I'm like, oh, here we go. Yes. How can I help you? And they want me to start, sending them properties and setting up appointments, and they won't even get on the phone to talk to me about what they want. And I don't work that way. I just tell them, listen, I'm not the realtor for you. I'm sure you're going to find someone to help you. But I've been trained, and usually very professional buyers agents are going to want to sit down and talk to you about what are you looking for? What type of home? What area? What's important? What are your must-haves? So they can find you the properties that are going to fit your criteria. So that's another reason why I think you should use an agent. Now, another thing is that you shouldn't be afraid to throw in an offer. And gosh, other realtors hate it when I say this. They hate it. But the truth is that the contract is written in the buyer's favor. So if you're not completely sure about whether or not you want the property, but you really like it, you're better off just throwing in an offer and getting the home inspected and checking it out, doing your due diligence, because during the inspection period, you can cancel the contract during that inspection period and get your deposit back. So I always say, tie up the property and then figure out if you want to buy it. Because we're in such a competitive market these days in Miami that if you sit and you wait until you know without a shadow of a doubt that you want this property, by the time you get yourself together and put that offer in, there's a good chance that the property is gone. If it's priced right and it's a good property, it's going to be gone. The only reason mostly why properties sit on the market and they're there month after month after month is because they're not priced right or there's something wrong with the property. But I have to say that price drives sales. So if the property is priced right and it looks really good, put the offer in because you could always cancel it within the inspection period. Now, when you put an offer in and it gets fully executed, which means that all the terms are agreed upon by the seller and the buyer, your agent should give you a list of important dates, like when are your deposits due? When's your first deposit due? When's your second deposit due? When's your inspection period due? When is your closing? All of these things so you can keep track of everything. So a good agent should give you a list of important dates. The other thing that an agent's going to help you with is walking you through contract to closing. You see, it's not just you meet with an agent, you figure out your needs and your wants, you start looking for property, you find a property, and then you negotiate the property. So you need an agent for that as well. So you negotiate the property and then you have a fully executed property and then, or fully executed contract. And then it gets interesting. Then you have to go from contract to closing. And there's a lot that goes on in contract to closing. And you need an agent to walk you through that because, I mean, you could be blindsided by things that you wouldn't know because you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. Like, for example, let's say you're going to buy a property in a condo. Well, and you're going to get a mortgage. One of the first things you need to do is get that condo questionnaire figured out. Like, what's a condo questionnaire? Good question. When you're buying a property and the property is going to be the asset that protects the mortgage or is the, oh God, I forget the word of it. But the property is it's what secures the mortgage. The lender is going to want to check out that property and make sure that it meets their criteria. So with a condo, you're already approved as a lender, but the property that you're buying has to be approved by the lender as well. So with a condo or a property with an association, any property, the lender is going to do what's called a condo questionnaire. And it usually takes about a week, and it usually costs anywhere from $250 to $400 that the buyer has to pay for. And it's a questionnaire that is filled out by the condo association and given to the lender to determine whether or not that property is a viable property that the lender will allow you to use as collateral. That's the word I was looking for, as collateral for your loan. So if you wait too long to get your condo questionnaire, that's going to hold up your approval. And then that could hold up your contract and it could have an issue with your closing date. So you need to get a condo questionnaire. And usually I schedule it depending on the situation. I usually try to, if I know that the buyer is going to proceed with the contract and the buyer knows that they're going to proceed with the contract. The minute that we know that the buyer is going to proceed with the contract during the due diligence period, I order that condo questionnaire. Sometimes I order it immediately, just depending on the case. It doesn't make sense to order the condo questionnaire if the buyer is going to cancel the contract during the inspection period. But bearing that he's not, she's not, they're not, get that condo questionnaire done. Because if the condo questionnaire comes back with any blemishes on it, and for whatever reason, the lender is not going to lend you on that property, or you have to put more of a down payment for the lender to put you in a different loan program that maybe doesn't have the same criteria, that's something that you need to know immediately, as soon as possible. I mean, that could kill your deal. And the other thing is, you need to understand about condo associations and homeowners associations and how that's going to affect your property purchasing experience. So besides the condo questionnaire, you also, as a new resident, need to register with the association, and you need to go through what's called the condo association approval process. And that is another thing that could blindside you, and you have to pay for that. That's usually like $100 or $150 per applicant. And you have to register as a new owner, and that's done during the contract to closing process. If you don't have your condo approval letter, you're not closing. You can't close on a loan or you can't close on a property regardless without a condo association approval letter. So these are things that your realtor should walk you through and hold your hand on. You also need to get homeowners insurance. What kind of homeowners insurance? Well, your lender is going to dictate what type of homeowner insurance you need. But that's something that you need to get in. The homeowner's insurance is going to be contingent upon the home inspection. So during that inspection period, let's say your inspection period is 10 days, you're going to have hopefully a professional certified home inspector come out and check out the property. See, in the state of Florida, you're buying a property as is with the right to inspect. So you have that inspection period to inspect the property and make sure you're okay with it, because the seller is not obligated to fix anything. But you as a buyer are allowed to go in and inspect it and understand what you're getting into. Now, sometimes during the inspection period, if there's a lot of things to get fixed, you can renegotiate the price a little bit or maybe get a credit. Like, for example, if the AC doesn't work and maybe there's 2-year left expectancy, maybe you can get a credit of $3,000 to $5,000 from the homeowner at closing to get a new AC. But my God, there's so much. There's so much that goes into buying a place, and that's really why I wrote the book Buying Miami, because it started out as like an essay that I was going to put on my website about things that you should know during the home purchasing process. But during the pandemic, I was home a lot, and then I got my friends, my colleagues to chip in on different sections. Like my girl Lexi Goza from State Farm wrote about the homeowner section, and Randy Gilbert from Florida Title wrote about the whole title section and why do you need title insurance and what all goes into that. Rudy Pineda, who I'm going to have on the show next week, he is my mortgage broker, and he wrote about the mortgage processing and what's a DU and all of that. So the book grew into what it is now. And another thing that I put in was a glossary. There's a whole language in this industry, and there's words like that you may not be familiar with. So in the back of the book of Buying Miami, there's quite a significant glossary of terms. So if you hear something and you're not sure what it means, or you've heard it before and you kind of think you know what it means, you can go to the back of the book and it should be there. So there's a lot that goes into purchasing a home. So much more than I could go over in this 30 minutes. But through this podcast, we're going to dissect the book, Buying Miami, the must-have guide to purchasing a home, which is on Amazon. But we're going to dissect it piece by piece. So I'm going to have Lexi come in and talk about homeowners insurance. I'm going to have Rudy Pineda from More Lending come in and talk about mortgages. Jody Strang is my real estate attorney. She's going to come in and she's going to talk about the legal aspects and things that you need to know about purchasing a property. Randy Gilbert from Florida Title is going to come in and talk about title. I have Allison Wolf from Wolf Inspection. She's going to come in and talk about things that you should be aware of during your inspection period and on the inspection report. So if this is something that you're interested in, if you kind of want to learn more about purchasing your first home or purchasing a home in South Florida, the nuances, pick up the book. Like I said, it's on Amazon, and stay tuned. Stay close to this podcast. Each week, we're going to be talking about a different subject. We're going to go deep into that subject, and hopefully, you can learn some stuff. And if not for nothing, but if you're looking for a good realtor in Miami, you could definitely look me up. My website is buyingmiami.net. I am a Compass agent, and I'm one of the founding members of Compass Florida. 7 years ago. I'm going on 7 years now with Compass. They're a great, great company. My offices are on Lincoln Road. We have offices all over South Florida and all over Florida. So if I could help you in any way, if you just want to pick my brain, I love to talk shop. I love to talk real estate, and I love to help people find their perfect home. So with that, I'm going to close out, and I will see you next time. Thanks for tuning in.